About 3 months ago I finished high school. I'd recently lost my job. I was in desperate need of money. I had stopped at a gas station to get myself some breakfast. I saw a hiring now flyer on the front door paying $19 an hour for the night shift. I thought this was too good to be true. I made my way to the guy up front. "Hey, I see you guys are hiring for the night shift," I said. "Yep, the last guy quit because the rules were too hard to follow, so we need another night shift worker," he said. "Well, do you mind if I apply for the job?" I asked. "No need to apply, as long as you show up we'll pay you. The shift starts at 9 and ends at 5, he said. "All I have to do is show up?" I asked. "Yep, no application required," he said. "Guess I'll be here at 9, I said. As I went to my car and got it, I kept on thinking to myself, $19 an hour, that's a steal. When I got home I had to rest as much as I can if I'm working the night shift. When it was time to go I got up, got dressed and went off to work. When I got there the same man was still there. He handed me my uniform and gave me a list of rules. "If you follow the rules you will be just fine," he said. "Should be easy enough," I replied. Keep in mind this gas station was in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by woods. As he left the gas station I started reading the rules. Rule 1. If a man with a black suit walks in, compliment his suit and give him a pack of cigarettes for free. If this rule is not followed right you won't like the outcome. Rule number 2. If you hear a low groaning moan come from outside the door, duck under the counter and wait until you hear the door open and the groaning stops. Rule 3. When it's 1:53 a.m. go outside and say you look beautiful today and wait until you see a woman in a white dress appear across the street, then go back inside. She likes it when you compliment her beauty. Rule 4. If you hear a little girl's laughter outside, run and lock all the doors and turn off all the lights and hide under the counter till the laughter is gone. If you fail to do so it will come get you. Rule 5. If you hear growls coming from the bathroom, grab a bag of chips off the shelf and throw them into the bathroom without looking. If you manage to fail, let's just say you will be the chips. Rule 6. If you have to use the bathroom at all throughout the shift, don't use stall 4 or urinal 2. Rule 7. If a blue minivan pulls into the parking area, make sure you turn around at all times and avoid eye contact. If they ask to buy something, say, "It's on the house." When they leave, make sure you hear the minivan pull off before you turn around, they might just still be there. Rule 8. If the lights randomly go out at any time during your shift, lay down on your back and close your eyes until you hear a demonic scream, then get up and turn on the lights. Rule 9. If you are working and hear tapping coming from the window next to you, keep doing your job and ignore it. It might begin to tap louder, if so just keep ignoring it. When it stops you can safely look out the window. Last but not least, Rule 10. If an old man comes in asking you if you know where his wife is, say, "She isn't here right now, check here tomorrow night." He will walk off into the woods and you can continue with your shift. When I finished reading the rules I was really confused. I thought this was a joke being played on the new guy to scare him. Then I thought about what the guy told me about the last guy. That he quit because the rules were too hard. It was already 9:30 and nobody had come yet. That's when a small Ford truck parked itself outside. A woman walked in and bought a bag of chips and paid for gas for her truck. That's probably gonna be the only normal thing to happen tonight, I said to myself. I waited there for a couple of minutes while the buzzing of the lights filled my ears, followed by the sound of crickets chirping. It sounds peaceful, I thought. Then I started thinking about the rules. There's no way that the rules are real. An old man won't just come into a gas station in the middle of the night asking for his wife. I decided to get up and start mopping the floor. I might as well do something while I'm here. After all, there is no cell surface. While I was mopping the floor I heard the slightest tap coming from the right of me. I froze. It sounded as if a long fingernail tapped on the window. That's when I remembered Rule 9. If you hear a tapping coming from the window next to you, don't look. I stood there frozen in fear. Then tap another one. I was shaking at this point. Then it started tapping faster. I started to sweat nervously. The taps were getting more aggressive and harder. It sounded like the glass was going to break. I thought whatever was tapping on that window was going to break through and kill me. Then the tapping stopped. I stood there staring at the wet ground for a good 5 minutes before I looked up and looked at the window. There wasn't anything there. I now believed these rules were no joke. I finished mopping the floor and went back to the counter and began reading the rules again. I was sitting at the counter reading a hunting magazine. I heard the bell on the door ring indicating someone had walked in. I looked up and I saw a man wearing a black suit with a fedora on with sunglasses. I remembered Rule 1. "Hello sir, nice outfit you got on. It looks really good on you," I told him. "Thanks, my wife made me buy it," he responded. "May I offer you a pack of our finest cigarettes for free?" I asked. "That would be nice," he replied. He took the cigarettes and walked out the store. That wasn't too hard, I thought. About 3 hours later at about 12:30 a.m. Nothing has happened since the guy with the suit. I was getting really bored at this point. So I got up and went to see if there were any books I could buy. I couldn't find anything but beauty magazines. While I was looking through the shelves I heard a groaning noise. It sounded as if a old man had broken his hip. I remembered something about this in the rules. I ran over to the counter and hid under it. While I was waiting there the bell on the door rang letting me know something was inside. I could hear heavy breathing mixed with heavy footsteps. Fear had filled me and I sat under the counter as the thing inside the store was looking for me. While waiting, that thing seemed to call out for me. Connor, come out, I need to tell you something, it said. The scariest part of all was that it was calling my name in my mother's voice. It did this for a good 15 minutes before it decided to give up and leave. When I got up from under the counter, there wasn't anything in sight. I continued on with my shift. While sitting there thinking about what happened, the door opened again. I screamed. It turned out to just be a regular customer. Sorry I spooked you, the guy said. You're good, I replied. I was wondering if I could pay for some gas, he asked. Sure thing, I responded. 2 gallons is what I need, said the man. Alright, that will be $5.43, I said. He paid for his gas and drove off. After that I was sitting there bored and wondering what I could do since there wasn't anything I could do. That's when the lights started flickering. Then the lights went out. I was confused for a moment. Then I remembered to get on my back and closed my eyes. I was lying there on the ground in the dark. I felt a gush of hot air hit my face. It felt like something was breathing onto my face. I wanted to open my eyes really badly, but I knew if I did it would be the end of my shift. That's when I felt something warm and slimy go up my leg. It felt like something was getting a taste of its next meal. I refused to open my eyes or move. I was terrified. As long as I didn't move and kept my eyes shut, I would be fine. I felt something drag across my leg. It felt like a claw. I closed my eyes even harder, trying my best not to make a single peep. That's when I heard a loud screech. It sounded like that of a woman with a demonic tone. Then it was quiet. I was scared to open my eyes. I felt like this thing was trying to trick me that it was gone so I would open my eyes. I was laying there on the cold tiled floor with my eyes closed in the dark. I waited there silently for about 4 minutes. When I opened my right eye, the coast was clear. I got up and ran to turn on the lights. When I flicked the switch, I could hear the buzzing of the lights again. I felt relieved that I was able to survive. I sat there staring at the clock. The time was 1:52 and I was about to have to do the next rule. When the clock hit 1:53 a.m. I went outside to the middle of the parking lot and said, "You look beautiful tonight." I waited there waiting for my K to go back inside. That's when I saw under the street lamp across the street a beautiful pale lady with black hair and wearing a white wedding dress. Once I saw her, I went back inside and looked out the window. She had vanished. That was a really easy rule, I thought to myself. After waiting for a bit, I found a little one-player board game I could play while I'm bored. While I was playing the board game, I heard a loud demon-like growl come from the men's bathroom. I fell out of my chair out of being scared like that. I ran as fast as I could to grab a bag of chips. While I was panicking to grab a bag of chips, I failed to notice I ran on the floor I mopped earlier. I slipped and fell on my back. The pain was unbearable. I could barely even move. I watched as the men's restroom door began to creak open. I knew I wouldn't make it in time to throw the chips into the bathroom. I felt hopeless, all my hard work coming crashing to the ground because of a wet floor. That's when I got the idea. I would try and throw the chips through the gap in the door. I grabbed the chips and got up. I aimed with my left arm and threw the bag. I saw as the bag went through the gap and into the men's bathroom. The door slammed shut and the growling stopped. I went back to the counter and sat there. My back was still aching after hitting the ground so hard. I decided to walk around the store a little bit and see if it helps the pain. After I finished walking, I saw out of the corner of my eye headlights to a car. I turned and looked out the window. There was a blue minivan. I ran over to the counter and faced the wall. I heard 3 doors shut. When I heard the jingle of the bell, I heard many squeaky footsteps. It sounds as if they walked through a puddle. As they walked through the store, I could hear them pulling stuff off the shelf. "I would like to buy this." Their voice had the cracky voice of an old man. "You don't need to pay. It's on the house," I said with a slight stutter in my voice. I heard the jingle of the bells. I heard 3 doors shut again. I heard a car pull off. I turned around and there was no one to be seen. I let out a sigh of relief. It was about 3:34 a.m. I was almost asleep. I woke up to the sound of the bells jingling. I saw a little old man with a long white beard, pale. He looked like he hadn't eaten in months. "Have you seen my wife anywhere?" he asked. I thought for a moment. "No, I haven't come back and checked tomorrow." He stared at me for a few seconds, then walked out the store and into the woods. I was near the end of my shift, 4:30. I was about to take my money and never come back. I was staring at the clock when I heard something terrifying. A little girl's laughter. I scrambled to lock all the doors and turn off all the lights. Once I locked the doors, I shut off the light and hid under the counter. I then remember while I was scrambling to turn off the lights and lock the doors, I failed to get the back door. I froze in fear after realizing I had forgotten the back door. I heard a loud bang hit the front door. It sounded like someone or something was trying to force their way inside. Then it went to the window and I heard a loud bang. It was silent for the next minute. Then out of nowhere a loud bang came from the back door. Then I heard the door open. I heard heavy footsteps inside the office room. When I heard it enter the store area, I heard that same little girl laugh. This time it appeared more demonic. "You can't hide from me." I laid there under the counter helplessly for the next 27 minutes as it looked for me. I heard its heavy footsteps make its way towards the counter. I was extremely terrified. I was shaking uncontrollably, and tears began to run down my face. As it was about to find me, I heard a noise, a beeping of a watch. I had forgotten that I had set my alarm on my watch when it was 5 a.m. Then I heard a demonic screech, that of many different creatures mixed together. I had done it and I was able to survive my shift. I got up from under the counter and made my way out the door. I waited outside for that guy to come back. When he eventually arrived, I took my payment and left without saying a word. If you ever find a job and it's too good to be true, don't apply. It might just be the last job you ever take.